Nothing works.
It's time for a little blah, blah, blah with a little bit of yada, yada, yada. Nudge, nudge, know what I mean? It's time for the BCN team. Here's your host with the most. It's story time with Martin and Danny. It's story time with Martin and Danny. It's story time.
It's a silly song. All right, let's get it going here. Today, Martin's not here, but Keith was able to make it. So Keith is here. So Keith is here in place of Martin, except for one thing. Keith doesn't know how to do shit as far as running a show goes. So just me. And Anima's mad at me because I got snappy before the show.
You've been snappy all morning.
She has every right to be pissed at me, but when I'm doing stuff, I'm very
like
snappy.
That all morning. I'm like, why am I here even?
Because you love me despite all that.
Yeah.
For some stupid reason.
Really
Brainiac. Hey Reed, how you doing, buddy? So I'm doing this show because Keith didn't do his morning show because he had to deal with some stuff with his pop, and I'm assuming you got that done now, so that's cool. So now we're going to do this. Yeah, you're garbled, by the way, Keith. I want to check your connection. So we're going to talk about this news with James Bond because this is some crazy shit right now. And there's more going on than what you're seeing on some of the other channels. And that's really what we're going to be talking about here because I'm certain when Culture Casino and Valiant Renegade get into the discussion on this, they're going to go into a deep dive into what we're going to talk about here today. But there's more going on than meets the eye, which is, Variety did this big article today saying that, Amazon MGM now has control over James Bond 007. And there's more to it than that. And Keith shared an article with me today. And I'm going to quote you here, Martin Keith. Although there might be another reason, Keith, Michael, and Barbara Broccoli had to do it because of a screw up. I think this is to protect them from a billionaire real estate agent from Austria, not Saudi Arabia. Here you go. The developer is Austrian and is building a place in Dubai. Read this before you make a final statement on the story about Eon and Amazon. I think this guy has a few solid points. He does absolutely have solid points. So let's hit the Variety article here. And hey, guy, Read, anybody that's watching right now, please share it out. Let people know we're talking about.
We are live on Rumble, by the way, Gary. Martin set it up. I just checked.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Martin. Keith. Jesus Christ. So let me present the screen here. Share screen. Let's get to it. James Bond, MGM. Okay, that's the other article. We'll get to that one later. All right, let's get to this one first. So we've got this article over on Variety. One of the king of journalistic integrity over at Variety. You don't know how many times, I don't know why they haven't blocked me on Twitter, because I will tag them and call them shitheels and fake journalists because they're just not very good. I knew things were going down when they stopped using proofreaders. So here it is. James Bond shocker. Amazon MGM gains creative control of 007 franchise as producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson step back. This is by Alex Rittman. a guy that you will never fucking remember the name of because he's a nobody over at Variety. So Amazon MGM Studios is set to take creative control of the James Bond franchise. The shock announcement, which is sure to shake and indeed stir the industry. Oh, Jesus Christ. Did he really make that fucking joke? I swear to God, Keith, these guys, no journalistic integrity with these guys. It's just, no serious journalist would write that fucking article that way. Anyway, so it was made Thursday alongside the news that longtime producers and custodians of 007, Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli of Eon Productions, would be stepping back. This is a huge shift from, what was it, a couple of months ago when she said Amazon is a bunch of fucking idiots, quote, end quote. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
I do.
As per details of historic agreement, Amazon MGM Studios, Wilson and Broccoli have formed a new joint venture to house the James Bond intellectual property rights. The three parties will remain co-owners of the iconic franchise, but Amazon MGM will have creative control.
Yep.
Since his theatrical introduction over 63 years ago, James Bond has been one of the most iconic characters in film entertainment, end quote, said Mike Hopkins, head of Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios. And he sounds like one of those, fucking idiots that she talked about. Quote, we are grateful to the late Albert Broccoli and Harry Saltzman for bringing James Bond to movie theaters around the world, and to Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli for their unyielding dedication and their role in continuing the legacy of a franchise that is cherished, fuck you, by legions of fans worldwide. Fuck you. We are honored, that's the British honored, by the way, with the U in it, to continue this treasured heritage, you lying sacks of shit. And to usher in the next phase of the legendary 007 for audiences around the world, you lying cocksucker. Added Wilson, who's clearly a lying cocksucker, with my 007 career spanning nearly 60 incredible years, I'm stepping back from producing the James Bond film to focus on art and charitable projects. Therefore, Barbara and I agree, it's time for our you lying son of a bitch. This is all lies, every bit of this. This is a fucking lie. Broccoli commented, quote, my life has been dedicated to maintaining and building upon the extraordinary legacy that was handed to Michael and me by our father, producer Cubby Broccoli. I have had the honor of working closely with four of the tremendously talented actors who played 007 and thousands of wonderful artists within the industry. Boy, this is just fluff. Do you get it?
Yeah,
this is pure fluff here.
This is a situation.
Oh, you're breaking up, buddy. You're breaking up, buddy. Bad.
This is a situation. Oh, you still can't get me? Hold on. How about
You are breaking up bad. You're garbled.
Yeah.
Nope, garbled. You might want to back out, come back in.
jump back out, jump back in?
All right.
Okay.
Oh my God. You know, the one thing I'm good at, I know a little bit about the Hollywood business, but man, oh man, I can fucking read bullshit. I can tell when somebody's fucking shining you on. And this is a bunch of fucking sex gel right here, man. This is nothing substantive being said here. Not one thing. Nothing substantive being said.
It's like the thing politicians do.
Yeah,
Talking
it's
about
it's
something.
word salad. Word salad. Let's see. Hey guys, remember to share it out and let people know we're talking about this right now. I don't know how long this show is going to be. I'm pissed today.
No
Hey
shit.
John. Wait, monkey, what the fuck? Okay, I'll deal with that later. That's crazy. people are fucking angry in California, man.
California is fucked.
Newsom caused this. Newsom caused this. They say it's a domestic dispute. So basically, you're saying that lesbians are violent, prone to violence, and getting all stabby.
Guess
Yeah,
what Tim
Tim.
had to
Yeah.
say.
Wait till I get to this other article. Heath found this article and sent it to me that tells you a little more of what's going on in the background. Because what they're not telling you in this article is there was another interested party. And we're going to get into that. Okay, Keith's back. So you were getting ready to say, Keith.
I was getting ready to say that this entire situation seems like something that had to hastily happen. I think overall it seems like both Barbara and her brother Michael had to put together a legal, basically an arrangement. This was a marriage of convenience because I think some fans now that have money are starting to figure out ways of being able to jump in there to help decide certain things. And
so let's get into that real quick here. So I'm going to pull up this other article because that's the end of this article. It's just another bunch of repetitive stuff here. Nothing substantive being said. They're just rehashing the movie and casting, blah, blah, blah. And MGM, again, they repeat it twice in the fucking article about Amazon buying it. It's like this guy was trying to get so many words in so he gets paid. And I fucking hate journalists like that because they're not journalists. Terrible fucking writers at Variety. And I know you've heard me mock them before, Keith.
Oh, yeah. They are
garbage entertainment magazine. Garbage. Freaking Robot, whatever they're called, is better at journalism than they are. And that's not saying much. So let's close this ad. All right. So this is The Guardian over in bloody Europe, the UK and all that. So James Bond won't die on my watch, says Austrian who wants ownership of 007. Now, this article was published when I don't see a date on this.
2 days ago.
All right. This is what made them make this deal. Absolutely. Because, quote, James Bond will not die on our watch, end quote. The businessman challenging the ownership of the rights of 007's name has said, claiming he is motivated by concerns about the future of the multi-billion-pound dollar global spy franchise. The Guardian revealed on Friday that Joseph Kleindienst, the Austrian property developer who is building a $5 billion luxury resort complex called the Heart of Europe on 6 artificial islands off Dubai, is challenging the trademark ownership of the James Bond name in the United Kingdom and the European Union. Nearly all the trademark challenges relate to the merchandising of goods and services under the Bond name, which can be challenged after 5 years of, quote, non-use, end quote, under trademark law. Daniel Craig revealed his retirement as James Bond in November 2019, 2 years before the release of the most recent film, No Time to Die, with no announcement since his replacement or timeline for production of the next film. The 63-year-old franchise is on track to beat the previous longest gap between installments of 6 years and 4 months. Kleindienst said, quote, we and many, many more fans are disappointed to see and understand how James Bond is being treated. Our concern is certainly to ensure that James Bond, as we know him, stays alive and that there are further experiences with him. We have decided to invest and support letting today's fans and future generations enjoy James Bond, end quote. The developer plans to make a fuller announcement about his commercial intentions behind the rights challenges. Kleindienst has also filed trademark cancellation filings relating to the use of the James Bond name in films and video. However, experts believe that given the long history that Eon, the rights owner and Bond film producers, have in the sector, any rights challenge in the area is likely to fail. Nevertheless, Kleindienst argues that the, quote, whole situation, end quote, that the Bond franchise has become mired and is a worry to all fans of 007, which is true. Eon, which is run by Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson and has a base in Pinewood Studios, has control over the film franchise, not today, down to selecting the actor to play the lead role. MGM, Amazon owned, which co-owns the rights to the Bond films, was acquired by Amazon for $8.5 billion in 21. The year No Time to Die hit cinemas. Since the franchise has ground to a halt, with articles suggesting that Broccoli did not hit it off with Amazon. If you remember, she called them a bunch of fucking idiots. With Amazon executives, that standoff has put future Bond projects on ice. Arnold would say, freeze. Anyway, claims of a rift with Eon were denied by Jennifer Salke, the global head and one of the fucking idiots at Amazon MGM, in the Guardian interview last year. She's like, yes, we're all fucking idiots here, but no, we've still got good talks going, because Barbara doesn't have a problem with us at all, calling us fucking idiots. We are looking at the whole situation and are concerned, said a spokesman for Kleindienst. The falling commercial success, knowing that a fall will ultimately lead to the death, which we want to prevent. Under no circumstances should the next film be the last. The next film is not yet in sight, but there are also other fundamental issues, end quote. The James Bond trademarks are registered to the US-based company Danjaq, which controls the rights to worldwide traditional James Bond merchandising in conjunction with Eon. And you're saying that that's them again. They own that company too.
Yeah, that company is set up to actually be in control of the merchandising. In other words, Barbara and her family are in control of basically everything concerning Bond, but they had to establish two different companies to do it. One was related to film and TV, and the other one related to everything else.
All right, so Danjaq also co-owns the copyright to existing James Bond films, along with MGM Studios, Amazon MGM Studios. Kleindienst claims that a plan needs to be made to resolve the growing disconnect that is developing between Bond fans fueled by the drought of 007 content in the global market. Quote, all of this could mean that James Bond as we know and love him will no longer exist, said Kleindienst's spokesperson, and continues, but even more worrying than the relationship between the administrators of James Bond is the relationship with those who make up James Bond, his fan base. Turning the tide and keeping James Bond alive will only work with the fans and their involvement to secure the future of James Bond as we know him and as we love him. We see this as our task, and our investment is aimed at creating real touch points with the fans and involving them. So they clearly, Amazon and Eon had to shut them down because, they don't want to placate the fans. Eon and Danjaq did not respond to any request for comment from The Guardian, and that's it. That's a hell of an article right there.
Yeah, and that was 2 days ago. So I only heard about it 2 mornings ago because I happened to be listening to the BBC on the radio. And that article, they had that story come up. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And now 2 days later, this happens. And I just thought in my mind, it's like, that's not a coincidence. Okay, this is obviously somebody. First of all, this is not some Joe off the street. This guy has money. And if he's putting together a project in Dubai, he has a lot of money and a lot of pull. And what you have to also consider is that Bond probably is still the world's biggest merchandiser as far as merchandising tie-ins. Every Bond film is connected to various companies around the world who basically have gotten in, they've gotten into business with Bond over the last 60 something years, and a lot of them have profited greatly. For there to be a roadblock to the next film also endangers a lot of people's businesses. And there's a lot of stuff that has just been held up because Amazon and the Broccoli family aren't getting along for whatever reason. Personally, anybody
You
that
think the
employs
siblings
Jennifer
aren't getting
Salke-
along?
No. They together are not getting along with Amazon. And anybody that employs Jennifer Salke right now, you do that at your own peril.
So the question is why was the deal made? And clearly, they're trying to shut this guy out, keep him
basically.
I think I got to tell you, man, I had concerns about Barbara Broccoli when she said certain things and then went in the wrong direction with Daniel Craig, and she absolutely fucked up with Daniel Craig, and I think she has lost all support from the fan base, and I think that's what scares her.
Part of it also is that this guy is just the beginning. I think this is just the beginning. He's not the only Bond fan out there, especially one with money. This is going to open up the.
Well, I know, but he's probably one of the richest. So let's hold on for a second. This article just came out. This article is brand new. This is over on The Independent. James Bond producers give full creative control to Amazon after 60 years. Let's see. Long-serving James Bond producer Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli have announced they are handing over creative control of the iconic franchise to Amazon MGM Studios. But let's look, because I'm looking for anything that's in his response. Because the reason I found this article is because his name got mentioned in the search. And I'm not seeing his name. Oh, there it is. The news comes after the franchise's ownership over the 007 rights was challenged by Dubai-based Austrian businessman Joseph Kleindienst, who filed several claims over trademark non-use, which is 5 years. Under UK and EU law, a trademark can be challenged if the owner does not commercially exploit it for at least 5 years. Kleindienst challenged rights across the variation of the franchise's monikers, including James Bond Special Agent 007, James Bond 007, James Bond World of Espionage, and the famous James Bond line. After No Time to Die, the franchise has no formal plans to place for the next film, and this gap could beat the record for the longest break between Bond installments, which currently stands as 6 years and 4 months for the wait between 1989's License to Kill and 95's GoldenEye. Kleindienst, a Bond fan himself, said his legal challenge was motivated by his concerns for the future of the franchise, telling The Guardian that we fans are disappointed to see and understand how James Bond is being treated. And that is a direct shot at Barbara Broccoli and her partner. I'm just telling you, that's at the Broccoli family.
Well, I think ultimately, Amazon was the one that really spurred this on, because they probably went to them and said, look, we are now close to being out of time. We are getting very close to 5 years, very close to 5 years. And with the time they have left, they could either quickly just put out a movie or some TV project or something, but they need to get going now. It's February. And I think 5 years will be up. I think in September, if I remember, maybe. So they need to get going right now. And I'm thinking what Amazon did was they just said, look, guys, we're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And they probably quoted them a significant amount of money to buy them out. And just said, look, you can take this deal right now. But I'm telling you, for every week you wait, the price is going to go down. Because if we hit 5 years and Kleindienst comes in and successfully does what he's attempting to do, nobody's going to have anything. So
I got to tell you, man, this is wow, dude. I mean, I was floored by the news this morning when I woke up. I'm
this
like,
is surprising.
oh my God, what?
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah, and like immediately, the first thing I said is, yeah, James Bond is dead. If this is really happening, it's dead. And I put that on our thumbnail. There it is in the background. I got to tell you, man, this is infuriating. And
It is.
I
Because
walked away from
Amazon-
the Bond franchise with Craig because once they did, because I was okay. A lot of people didn't seem to like it. But I liked the second film, Quantum of Solace, because it was closure for the first film. That's all it was. It should have been like just an additional short film. It should have been a short film. And they just tacked it on to the end of the film, because that's all it is, the conclusion of that story arc. And I was happy. And then they did the next one. What was the next one? Was it Skyfall?
Yeah. I like Skyfall.
Terrible script. No, come on, man.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying the script was perfect, but I liked Skyfall.
I love the villain in it, except for, his, like, he did all of that just to have a shootout in the courthouse. I'm like, really? You pre-planned all of this for a shootout in the courthouse? Oh my God. The third act started off so badly with that shootout. And then, of course, I enjoyed the closing scene. And great fucking last line.
Yes.
Last rat standing.
It ultimately, it just seemed like Barbara and Michael had hit a wall. And as you and I said, when we did our big Bond show, God, over a year ago.
We need to do it again.
Yeah, we need to do it again.
As you and I said,
it's like, you have to be mentally deficient to think that you have no options with the character of James Bond. There are all kinds of options. You're holding all the cards. Why you got to act like you've got no options? You've got books.
This is all panic. There's no fucking way that this guy says what he said, and then within 48 hours, a deal is struck between Amazon and Eon.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just not realistic. So they panicked because they were afraid they were going to lose control to an actual fan.
Yeah, that's it. MGM and the Broccoli's panicked because fans, as I was saying, you got some fans with money out there. And to do the whole tap dance where, we got no options. We have to make up everything. No, you don't.
Yeah, and let me say something, because Kim Bailey's on something here, because you and I've talked about this before. Eon literally killed James Bond.
Yep.
In the last film. They killed him. Biggest fuck up ever.
Well, look, those of us that are fans, longtime fans, especially if you read the books, knew something was up when they allowed his friend to die on the boat.
Felix Leiter. Yeah, Felix Leiter didn't die.
Felix is still alive in the books.
Yeah, he got his leg or legs bit off by a shark, just like they showed in the movie.
Yeah,
License to Kill. He got tortured, and but he sired a daughter through that marriage, and because I don't think she died either. They killed her in the movie, but I don't think she died. Because they had a kid.
Yeah, and then he left the service. Now, the one thing that is different is that in the books, they ended up firing or getting rid of Felix. He no longer works for the CIA. He ended up working a bunch of other government jobs, but eventually he ended up in the private sector. Now, his daughter went to work for the government, and that's something that I think John Gardner continued in one of his books.
Gardner, I got to tell you, I prefer his Bond over Ian's.
Yeah,
I actually do. I do.
But they act like he doesn't exist, even though their father worked with John Gardner to adapt one of the movies that they had done, and which was License to Kill.
Yeah.
I just think that as a fan, if it were me, if I had the money and the wherewithal to do what Mr. Klein, what Joseph had done, I would have gone after them too. But I would have struck a deal to actually start with the Gardner books. As I said, there's a lot of material out there. You don't have to try to make up everything. And there are things in the Gardner books that would still play. In fact, there's enough plot in one of his books to make 2 movies out of. You know,
I agree. Well, that car flipping scene that was used in Casino Royale is actually from one of the Gardner books. Because I told you when I saw that, I went, I remember that from one of the Gardner books. It's cool. They brought that into the film. Our good buddy Meph is here right now.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah. Good morning. So,
good morning, Keith. Good morning, Gary. Good morning,
drop
Adam.
that flagpole, mister. Craig was one of the ones who wanted to have Bond
right now,
dead.
Gary.
I'm going to tell you, Biona Rad, here's the problem. It wasn't Daniel Craig. It was still Barbara Broccoli making decisions and agreeing to the things that Daniel Craig wanted. That's the problem. She agreed to all these fucking deals and went with him, and he helped lead them into the destruction of James Bond.
This is the case of another actor making creative decisions. And just like happened with Patrick Stewart, Harrison Ford, and others, I love actors. I do. I love them. I do. And I love those actors. They shouldn't be making creative decisions. You know, they can make their own movies with their own characters and do whatever they want. But when it comes to these big characters, they should not be making creative decisions. I'm sorry. You just can't
what I
do
said.
that.
Just like I said, Kim Bailey says it right here. I got to tell you, man, I was pissed when I woke up today. I'm in a foul fucking mood. And yes, some of it was from pain, but another part of it was from reading that news this morning, and I got angry. And I've been angry ever since. And this is
Gary,
don't read the Obama news.
Gary,
I'm afraid to read any news now.
Gary, just understand this. You've tried to tell them. I have tried to tell them. All fans around the world have tried to tell these people, and they haven't wanted to listen. You know, that's the thing.
They don't listen to fans.
Even before Amazon came along, no, they weren't listening to fans. They were going down this road as if everything they were doing, they had to do because they had no other choice. And you always have choices. There are always choices. You cannot tell me that the idea that I had, where they should have just hired both Henry Cavill and Idris Elba and just had them play 2 different things. They could have had Idris Elba do all of the Gardner stories and made
as a mini series on Netflix or on Amazon. They could have done a mini series. Absolutely, and they could have older Bond.
Just all the Gardner stuff, because that's really good. I know that there are fans out there that are not familiar, and Gary and I have tried to tell everybody, Gardner's really good.
Gardner's Bond books. They were masterpieces of James Bond.
And there's more
took a skill as an actual writer to take James Bond as an older Bond, a more experienced Bond, and turn him into a seasoned spy that's dealing with these things. And he works with Felix Leiter's daughter.
Yep.
She's his new contact at the CIA. I fucking loved what Gardner did. So let me get some of these comments, and I turned your volume up, Mephisto, because you were really low. Say something.
Really?
Ooh, now I got to drop you down a little bit, because goddamn, I can't have you being that loud in my ear and not have me like.
How about now? Do you like it now?
Yeah, I like that.
Clarice.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. So,
all right,
Anima, how do you feel about it being an Austrian that wants to buy Bond?
No, I'm gonna get some coffee while you two rant. I'll be right back.
Go ahead, Anima.
I don't give a shit. The guy chose Dubai.
Okay.
That's all I need to know to not like him.
Hey, he's trying to make money, man. So Read by Nature says, I am a bit 60-40 on the news. 40, they could pull a reach around. 60, they could do more like the latter Craig films, or worse, the Hickson written young Bond books. Yeah, they were terrible. I'll tell you why you won't probably get a Reacher out of this, is because Reacher isn't the standard. That kind of production for Amazon is not the standard. They like to make woke ass shit.
Mhm.
And then occasionally, to pay the bills, they put out a show like Reacher. It is not the standard. I hate to say it, but that's a fact.
Jennifer Sulky makes sure that nothing good that we would like
Yeah,
will
she
ever
is
truly.
She's a leftist woke ass bitch, and she's in this fucking story up to her fucking ass. So
She, after what she did to the Conan television series, that alone would have become the #1 show. That
yeah,
show
and she destroyed it.
would have.
She destroyed it.
That show
So-
in and of itself would have been enough to kill Game of Thrones.
So are you guys
That show was going to
listen?
be bad.
Listen to Keith and me. We're telling you, this is not a hopeful situation. This is dire.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping this Austrian guy fucking puts a fight into this, because he could put a fire under them to do something good. So just him doing this could force their hand. So Bill Barkley says, by the way, Gary was the real James Bond in the military. No, I wasn't. I was basically a very masculine, muscular version of Bill Murray. Stripes. Martin says, get ready for Jamie Bond. And Zendaya will be the new James Bond. She's everything else right now. You got that,
Yeah.
John?
She and that black chick from Wicked, they are everywhere.
Yeah,
And why?
she's playing Jesus now. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. What a
They're going to do
fucking
another
show.
film version of the musical, Andrew Lloyd Webber musical about Jesus, which was very heretical. I'm not a fan of
Look
that.
what I
Jesus
almost
Christ
did.
Superstar. Yeah,
Whoa.
Jesus Christ Superstar. And she's been cast as Jesus. I'm
Female
not fucking
gay
kidding.
Jesus. That shit has to tank.
James Bond died when they made the Daniel. No, I don't agree with that, John. I think that Casino Royale was very good, and I think that they did a
Quantum.
fairly good job with Quantum of Solace, because it's the same film. It's just the conclusion. That's all it is. And people try to tell me, and I'm like, you're falling on deaf ears. I know quality storytelling, and it was a good story. It's a good story arc, great character arc. So he finally proves that he cared about her by killing the motherfucker who killed her or caused her to die.
Yeah.
I like that. So let's see. Still no James Bond Jr. live action. I remember that animated series. It was awful. I like that Amazon must have said something to them to get them to sell. It's not Amazon that said anything. It is the fact that threat against their trademark popped up, and then Amazon just simply threw out a dollar amount, and a deal was struck because Eon was terrified of losing control to somebody outside of them.
Yeah, somebody slapped a big fat one on the table and just said, well, how about this? And Barbara Broccoli was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, money will do that. And
Yes.
and I think they put out a nice price and just let them know that the price was going to go down the closer we got to the 5-year mark.
Oh, that's absolutely a threat. It really is a threat. Bill Barkley, Teen Agent, was if looks could kill. What a terrible movie. But yeah, that's probably the closest to James Bond Jr. you would ever get. But it's a terrible movie.
Anyway, I have less time than I thought. So once we're done with the comments, I'll get my thoughts out.
Yeah, get them out.
Okay.
Pull it out. Pull it out right now. We want to see it.
Good. First of all, my problem with Daniel Craig is, first, his face does not say Bond to me.
No.
Never have, never will. Even in Casino Royale. But we'll put that aside, okay? Casino Royale is a pretty decent Bond film, in all intents and purposes. However, what they did was take him in a route where you would probably see George Lazenby in that same route. So it's more of the tormented husband, lover, romantic side, but not, not romantic in terms of like heavy sex, but romantic in terms of love and romance and all that stuff that I don't particularly feel that belongs in a Bond film / Bond book. Not because I'm like misogynist or anything. I am, but I just don't think it fits that character and what you're going for in that particular movie. He doesn't have to smack bitches. Sorry. He doesn't have to smack bitches to be macho and all that stuff. But Bond does have a softer side, but it's just when it comes to luring the ladies into bed and, attending them while they're in, let's say, sexual mode. Other than that, I need my Bond to be a half detective, half uncovering the mystery, plus an action hero, plus doing stuff subtly, plus outsmarting the enemy rather than full on just grabbing a gun and, that's why I didn't quite love License to Kill, because it was more of the, more of an actiony Bond rather than a half smart, half action kind of a thing.
It was the closest in a long time to one of the books, though. So
I know. When it comes to Bond, there's the book Bond and there's the movie Bond. And the movie Bond went a little bit sideways. So having a full-on book adaptation, I don't think it'll work, especially not now. Now you need a specific script for it. But what they went with Craig is what you would have probably gotten if you had a George Lazenby run, which it didn't, because it didn't quite work with George Lazenby for some reason. And
I'm not a fan of that film.
And they pivoted to Roger Moore because they couldn't get Connery back. They couldn't get him back. And when they did get him back, they didn't get him back. It's basically a sort of Thunderball 2-ish, or a Thunderball remake with a different name.
It's really one of the weirdest Bond films ever made outside of the original.
By the way,
Casino Royale.
When I saw it for the very first time, I don't remember, A Time to Die, No Time to Die. Don't remember what the name of that. The one with Kim Basinger.
Oh, that was Never Say Never Again.
Never Say Never Again. That's the one where it's 83 or 82. And when I got the thing, it said James Bond on it. When I got the
he legally had a right to it because he co-created Thunderball with Ian, and on top of that, he had rights to the evil organization. In fact, he had controlling rights to Spectre, and that's why they didn't use Spectre until they finally got the rights back from him.
The whole point is the Connery one was the last one was, to me, always seemed off when I was a kid, and then I grew up. I kind of realized, okay, it is, but it isn't, but it is, but it isn't. Anyway, long story short, the reason why Daniel Craig never was a thing for me, because it invoked that George Lazenby route, which didn't work, and he doesn't have the face. I love him in other stuff.
Yeah, it was the whole falling in love thing. It's the constant need. We gotta have James Bond fall in love. No, you don't.
Yeah, a girlfriend, a wife, a lover, a lover that consistently
new
shows
love interest
up.
Every movie. That was what they did with Indiana Jones too, starting out. But no, I agree with you, and I didn't like that either. They lost me after Quantum, because Quantum, I will defend it to the hilt, because it is, to me, the conclusion of Casino Royale. That's all it is.
Okay.
It's nothing more. It's the conclusion. It closes that chapter. It's one story. They can act like it's two different films. It's one fucking movie.
I never saw any of the. I've said this numerous times. I've seen the Casino Royale, and that was it for me. That was the Bond that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. Well, Craig, Bayona Rad here says Craig was the one who wanted to have Bond dead because he agreed to do another Bond if. Yeah. And again, that's on Barbara Broccoli and her partner. That's on them. He wanted that. They gave it to him. That's why I fucking hate him.
Isn't it broccoli? Not broccoli?
Broccoli. He's Italian. It's an Italian name.
So it's broccoli.
It would be pronounced broccoli.
No, I don't think so.
It's broccoli.
So,
The way it's spelled.
Craig would have always been better. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
Craig would have always been better as a Bond villain than as a Bond himself. I can't argue with that. I wish Craig didn't come back after Skyfall. Yeah, I didn't like Skyfall. So, I mean, it had some great moments in it, but overall, I thought it failed as a film because there were huge logic issues in the story. And if you're doing a Bond film, you better know the logic of your fucking story. You got this brilliant guy that figures out all these things ahead of time, but what's his goal? To have a shootout in a courthouse. Fucking stupid. Let's see. Well, James Bond did have a daughter at the end of No Time to Die. I hope they will not be going in that route. No, please God, but at the same time, I don't care anymore.
Which one was No Time to Die? The last one?
The last one, yeah. Yeah.
I stopped
So
after the first
Daniel
three.
Craig run was flawed from get-go. Absolutely agreed. I mean, one of the dumbest things was in Casino Royale, where M confronts him on the beach, and starts like he just got his 00, just got it, and she's talking to him like he's a relic, calling him a fucking relic of another time. I'm like, you're talking about another James Bond, not this new guy. Like somebody forgot to fix that in the script. I'm not shitting you. It's fucking in there.
I'm telling you the absolute truth. The only thing I remember from Casino Royale is the poker match when he goes out to the car to put on the defibrillator, which was that is
been murdered.
The dumbest thing ever. If you know how to work a defibrillator, that whatever. Okay, that's Bond magic. That's fine. But the rope and the balls, that's the only scenes I remember. Honestly, the rest of it, I don't even remember how it starts. I don't even remember anything about anything. And I was so tuned out.
Peter Lorre was Le Chiffre, American, made for TV. CBS made it with what is his name? God, I can see his face and I can't think of his big square.
The main villain?
Head. No, in the original Casino Royale that was done on CBS back in.
I remember it's 50s. David Niven, right? As
no, that's
Bond.
The other movie. That's the other movie that came out in the 60s. And
which Casino Royale you're talking about?
I just said the one in the 1950s that was on CBS. It was a black and white TV movie, and it had I forget the guy's name playing Jimmy Bond is what he was called. Jimmy Bond, American CIA operative.
It's Jimmy Bond. Hey.
And they got Peter Lorre to play Le Chiffre in it, and it's not very good. It's really not. So yes, Reed, you are correct. The first James Bond was that one, and they would all like to forget it was ever made. What made the old James Bond movies so very fascinating is how they came during the time of the Cold War. Yeah, it was right in the midst of the Cold War. He began writing James Bond in the 50s. Craig being difficult is probably why his Bond darted back and forth between Not Yet Bond and Over the Hill Bond. Yeah, just way over.
He was pliable like most modern actors. They massaged him to whatever.
He was the one, and speaking of massage, he was the one that suggested gay stuff. Not shitting you.
like I said, I am not a fan of Daniel Craig. I thought Timothy Dalton would be my worst Bond. Surprise.
And he's
It's
my
Daniel Craig.
favorite because he was
I
closest
know,
to
I
the
know. We
book.
talked about this.
Amazon
I
has a
don't know what it is.
production-
I'll reiterate. I love Sean Connery as Bond, but if you
He's my
compare movie to movie, I think maybe Roger Moore did a better job. I know it's hard to say, but I've been rewatching some stuff lately. It's very hard for me to stick
You got
to
too
Connery, but Goldfinger is my favorite of them all. So I'm gonna stay with my guy.
Yeah, Sean Connery is absolutely tops. He's the best Bond. Um, Bond with Roger Moore had one really good first film, and then mid franchise
He had a
good one,
lot
which
of
was
mid stuff. Yeah.
this. For Your Eyes Only and The Spy Who Loved Me are both really solid Bond films with Roger Moore. Rest of it,
My
just- he's
favorite
too
my
cheeky.
favorite my favorite song is not from the Connery era. It's actually The Spy Who Loved Me from Carly
Oh, it's a
Simone.
great song. Oh my god!
That is hands down my favorite, because what they got for that song is, first they got a song kind of follows the whatever the movie it is. It has the title song, whatever, but it can also describe all of Bond. If you've seen any compilation of Bond, even in I think the one that they used for the 25 years, I think they actually use Carly Simone, at least for the most part of it, because it's a song about Bond, but it's also The Spy Who Loved Me, which is basically all of the Bonds, because he loved all the single, every single Bond girl there was.
Every girl I've loved before.
Exactly.
Who traveled in and out my door. I'm like, you have a door? What the fuck?
I mean,
What
I'm
is that guy's name?
I'm partial
Who's
to
that guy?
Goldfinger. I'm partial to Goldfinger, but my favorite song is The Spy Who Loved Me.
I gotta find it. Hold on a second. Girl I loved before.
You can't play it now.
Willie Nelson. It was Willie Nelson and this Italian, I think, singer. No, it was Spanish. Julio Iglesias.
Julio
and fucking
Iglesias.
Willie Nelson sang that stupid song. Even though it's not a James Bond movie, but the 1959 Alfred Hitchcock classic, actually it does. That film actually did influence them in the producing of it. In fact, Cary Grant was one of the actors that they were eyeing to play him at one point, and he was too old. He was like, by the 60s, he was ready to retire. And so he wasn't about to do a James Bond film. Pierce Brosnan was really good until that last one with Madonna in it. And I was the opening story in North Korea. That's a movie all by itself. I loved it. And then the rest of the movie was garbage.
Is that Tomorrow Never Dies? No, Die Another Day. Die Another Day.
Madonna song. Die.
Yeah.
Another day. Whatever.
I like the garbage song, but the movie.
Oh my god,
the movie was pretty garbage too. Pierce Brosnan was good, but the movies he had to work with were, except for GoldenEye, which was okay, the rest of them were pretty garbage in terms of the story, the characters, all that stuff.
I mean,
Denise Richards does not sell me on being a nuclear physicist.
Now you've got GoldenEye, which I thought was a solid film.
Solid.
Tomorrow Never Dies was really kind of weak. The World Is Not Enough was okay, and then Die Another Day was just great opening. The film was lost, and then Casino Royale was very good. Quantum of Solace works as a closure to the first film, and then Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die. I hated all three of those. So Die Another Day.
Can't wait for the little guy to find Bond. He doesn't really care.
Even Roger Moore's worst Bond movie is better than No Time to Die.
Oh yeah. Which one do you think is like Roger Moore's worst?
And what's really funny is it was one of my favorites. as a kid.
A View to a Kill?
No.
Which one?
No, that was pretty bad though. But it had some good stuff in it. No, it's so hokey is when they go into outer space. That one with the space.
Oh,
shuttle.
Moonraker?
Yeah,
oh, man,
Moonraker.
my heart fell to the floor because you know what's most people like worst Roger Moore movie? The Man with the Golden Gun, which is my favorite Roger Moore movie. It has
I thought
Sheriff
it's not
it
like
has
exciting.
Sheriff Pepper in it. It had Roger Moore
RX,
fighting all the
American
ninjas with two little teenage girls. It had the car roll on the bridge, and it had Christopher Lee in the island of the Island of Dreams that later on kind of became what's his face? Gary fell
Well, you
out.
know
Anima is not
that
here.
Christopher Lee was one of. No, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Your camera
Hello?
stopped working and you stopped talking.
Yeah, I went off camera because you were lagging for me, so I knew that was probably me. So I turned off my camera.
It's you.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said that. I said it was me. No, what I enjoyed about the fact that Christopher Lee was in there is that Christopher Lee was one of the role models for James Bond. He was through marriage. He was cousins with Ian Fleming, and that he got to be in that film was so fucking awesome. Sadly, after Ian died, but still,
Ian Fleming modeled some of the Bond stories after he heard Christopher Lee tell him about some excursions he did as an SAS officer.
Yep.
And it kind of got his juices flowing.
And we still don't know all of his history.
Christopher Lee, that's what I was going to say. Christopher Lee told him what he could tell him because Christopher Lee took he did a lot of covert operations and he didn't tell anybody. But the quid pro quo is Christopher Lee got to read a few books ahead of time because they had that relationship going. I think he divulged that in an interview I've seen like really late. When did Christopher Lee die? 2018, 2016?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Somewhere around the vicinity. I think the interview I've seen was from 2014 or 2012. It's a 3-hour video about.
He
died 2015.
God,
so
it's been 10 years.
Circa 2014, 2012-ish. I don't remember when it was, but he was really old when they did that. It's sort of a documentary. I think it's even on YouTube. It's a 2-hour, maybe even 3-hour. Again, I don't remember, but they go over a lot of stuff that is adjacent to movies. So they go over some stuff later on with heavy metal, with all that stuff that he did later on. But they do go over like what's your inspirations and did you meet J.R.R. Tolkien and all his different connections that he had. He's a very interesting guy. Like he had such a full life, and yeah, he got to see a little bit of Ian Fleming's work before it got published as a book, and he was so adamant on being Bond, and they cast him as the villain. And again, it happened to him in Tolkien where he wanted to be Gandalf, but they cast him as Saruman.
He's got those evil fucking eyebrows, man.
It's not the eyebrows; it's the deep voice. Deep voice does not go with good guys.
So here we go. One villain they never returned to was Jaws with Craig, etc. Michael Shannon would have made a good job. Look, first of all, after they did Casino Royale, they absolutely didn't adapt any ideas from previous works, and that's why the Craig franchise sucks so much. Let's see. Speaking of which, Bill, the movie For Russia with Love has Robert Shaw. Great film. And at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, when Tracy dies, you really feel for James Bond because he just lost someone he truly loved. And it was, I'm not bothered by that. What I'm bothered by is the fact that, seeing him broken at the end of the film, I didn't like that, and I felt that we needed to see him go cold as ice. And that's what we needed to see Bond get up from that and fucking kill somebody over it and be cold.
Yeah.
And that was my problem with her, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Well, that was one problem. The other problem I have isn't Lazenby, to be honest with you, that giant square-jawed motherfucker. I bet he hurt coming out of that mama's vagina. Oh, your child is almost out. He's snagged on his jaw. We can't get him out yet. So, but
speaking of spies, Kash Patel has been confirmed as FBI director.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah.
Somebody said that to me yesterday, and I was like, I haven't seen anything yet.
No, it literally happened 30 minutes ago.
Good. So, but the other problem, with that film was Telly Savalas, who I love. I'm a big Telly Savalas fan. He was a terrible Blofeld. With his New York accent, I am sorry. I could not stand him as Blofeld.
Who's the guy? There was one Blofeld who was bald that they modeled Dr. Evil after. I don't remember the name of the actor, but he was in he was the guy going blind in The Great Escape. I don't remember the name. I can check.
No, I know who it is. It's oh my God, give me a second. It's like,
if you write down Blofeld.
Hold on. Stop talking. Donald Pleasance.
Okay.
I just need you to have no sound, and then I will fucking find it. Ernst, actually, all of them were bald.
No, Charles Gray was not bald, and he was in Diamonds Are Forever. You want me to bring up a picture of him?
No, it's not necessary. It's just I always thought, because all the actors before that were bald.
Correct.
Blofeld was always bald.
Correct.
I hated
but
the fact
I loved him too, because he had the face to carry Blofeld. Plus, once you put him in that that gray suit, it kind of fit his face. If he was like voluntarily bald, maybe that could have worked better. But he was a good Bond. It was a good, not Bond. It was a good Blofeld. But to me, it's Donald Pleasance.
Oh, that's the guy from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah, I remember him. That's right. He had hair.
Yep.
Max von Sydow also had hair when he did Never Say Never Again. I didn't like that.
Yeah. I didn't even remember.
It could be. Look, because he's supposed to be bald, and
doesn't really matter. But like to me, it's Pleasance who. It's like Donald Pleasance is the Blofeld, is the model Blofeld.
So here they are in order. So Anthony Dawson was the first Blofeld in From Russia with Love.
Yep.
And then Charles Gray, Diamonds Forever. Then You Only Live Twice, Donald Pleasance. And then On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Telly Savalas. And then later, Eon lost the rights to Spectre. So they stopped using the character.
They stopped using Blofeld, yeah.
And so Max von Sydow was the only Blofeld after that in Never Say Never Again, because that guy owned the rights to Spectre. And then finally they got the rights back, and they made the movie Spectre, and Christoph Waltz, great actor. I didn't like that film. So
You Only Live Twice is my second favorite Bond movie of all of them. That's why Sean Connery is like number one to me, because Goldfinger is number one, and You Only Live Twice is number two. Even though it's pretty ridiculous with the whole him being Japanese, but putting that aside, that whole movie, the impact of that movie on, let's say, on Austin Powers, which was the one-to-one parody, was the biggest because it had the Blofeld that we know, that has the bridge where you fall into the piranhas. He had the cat
Sharks
that he strokes.
Freaking lasers on their heads.
He had the volcano that opens up and they shoot the rockets from. That whole ordeal came from that. It's all you only live twice. It's yeah. I
Here's
even
an
love
enduring
I
villain.
even love the theme song as well.
So I want to wrap this up because
Okay.
I didn't.
Yeah,
wanna
I
do
need
a
to go
whole
too.
show. So let's see. Pleasance with Lorne Michaels' voice, perfect. By the way, yes, that's true. Dana Carvey. That's what caused the rift between Dana Carvey and Mike Myers. Was he got pissed off that Mike Myers was doing his impersonation of Lorne Michaels as Dr. Evil and gave him no credit for it.
Okay.
He stole
Didn't
it.
know that.
And Dana talks about it in interviews. It just sort of irked him that, I thought we were friends kind of thing. And you did that. That's kind of shady, man. Anyway, Slasher Fred, I think that made Blofeld such a villain. He's an enduring villain. If Amazon Prime didn't buy the James Bond franchise, what do you think would have? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm so fucking upset over this that I don't even care. It's hard for me to give a shit. It's why I stopped talking about movie news, because even though I'm well versed in it, talking about this stuff, I just lost interest because we lost Mikey Sutton. Mikey died, and right after that, fucking Zaslav hires Saffron and James Gunn, and I went, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to talk about movie news anymore. These people have fucked around too much for me. And but this news today I had to talk about because one thing I'm not like Culture Casino or Valiant Renegade because they're business insiders. They get into the minutia of it. What I get into is I know how to read people and I know how to read what they're saying. And if you go and read that Variety article with the comments made by Amazon Prime and Barbara, I'm telling you right now, it's all word salad. There's nothing to anything that they said. It's just a bunch of crap that they PR'd out. That's it. And it's bullshit. We know that they got scared because of this Austrian. He's trying to go for the ownership of it, and he wants to do it for the fans of James Bond as a fan himself. And he's like, he's sick of what they've been doing to it. And that scared Eon Productions, and it gave leverage to Amazon MGM. And so you got this deal. Do I have any hopes for it? No, I have no hopes for this. As I said, Reacher isn't the standard as it's brought. Where's it at? Here it is, Reacher. Bringing up Reacher again. So you've got Reacher, which is not the standard by which Amazon makes its things. It is absolutely a woke company. They destroyed Conan the Barbarian. What they had some amazing fucking scripts and story, and they had a cast, and they were moving forward. And then Salky, the lady in charge there, that's in that fucking Variety article talking about, we're going to move ahead because we love James Bond. Fuck you, you lying bitch. She's a liar. And they're not going to embrace James Bond. They're going to try to change James Bond. In fact, now I tell you, I have no doubts that there's a possibility that they could recast as a woman. Because Barbara Broccoli is not in charge anymore.
You forgot two little details: black and lesbian woman.
Yeah, and make her lame. Some
Of
part
that.
says. And make her lame. Make her really lame. She's not lame enough. I think that the comedy series Get Smart is such a great send-up of James Bond. I agree, man. It was a great spoof. I'm a big fan of Get Smart. I was that close. At risk of suggesting the Austrian dude should become an artist, maybe he should fund some filmmakers and do their own original spy films. Look, man, what people want is James Bond. and you can do great stuff. Bourne Identity, I'm not that big a fan of the Bourne films. The fight scenes were great, but I'm like, well, in the first film, they started doing the quick cuts in the second film and then on. And the same thing with Taken. Taken's great. The Taken other films, terrible. You can create characters like that, but they end up dying pretty quickly. And as far as franchises, they don't have the staying power. James Bond has that kind of staying power. And all you got to do is just recast every few years, but keep the same concept going. And they fucked with it and changed it. And then they killed him. Where do you go from there? You killed him off.
Death.
And that's where,
Where do you go from there? Death.
Bond is dead, in my opinion.
You know
Bond
what's
is
crazy?
dead.
You know what's crazy? Bond doesn't have any continuity. You can literally make a new Bond, and if you go back to like think about reverting all the changes and just going with a straight out Bond movie like we had with Pierce Brosnan, you could still do that, but they won't do it. They'll never ever do it. No. They want this continuation. Bond is not a continuation story.
He needs to keep evolving, be a more modern James Bond. Well, I'm sorry, that's an archaic character. And that's why one idea I heard that was thrown around that Christopher Nolan said that if he did it, he would go back to the 60s and make it a Cold War film.
Yeah. You can.
And I'm like,
you can do that. Why? There's no reason why not to do it. If the Bond is a product of the 60s, 70s, 80s, make a 60s, 70s, 80s themed movie. What's so difficult about that? Because you know what why they don't do it, Gary? Because since forever they sold the new car, the new watch, the new whatever on the Bond movie, and this started like way beyond from the late Connery days. That's where they sold the new high-priced whatever to the rich guys who could afford it.
Anima's trying to say something.
Sorry.
The main problem with the old way of being Bond is look at the old James Bonds. They were sexist, borderline sexist. You couldn't pull that off today. But they needed to modernize Bond.
I think you can, but they're afraid to do it.
They would, but they're too scared.
It's more realistic. But anyway, let's get this wrapped up here. I want to say thanks to everybody that popped into the chat. Read by Nature, Das Wolfen, Popcorn Geek, Monkey Jubas, thank you, come again, and Bill Barkley, Tim, FKHC 2005. Martin was in the chat. Kim Bailey, Mephisto, who is also here. Bayona Rad, Small Time Republic. Let's see, Slasher Fred, Bakeman's Girl, The Time Scales, and Snorty. Snorty is here. I didn't even know Snorty popped in. Hi, Snorty. Yeah, he was a bad decision. And what's worse is they screwed up with the script because he just got his 00. And the first time you see him meet on the beach with M, she starts talking to him that he's a relic of an old time. And it's like, this guy just got his 00. What the fuck are you talking about? She was still thinking about Pierce Brosnan because she was M for Pierce Brosnan. And somebody wrote that in there and forgot to take it out. It was dumb. James Bond is a drone. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Andy Morrow's here. Yeah, good to see you, buddy. Meth, thanks for dropping in, man. Keith, thanks for dropping in for a little bit. You had to split. And hope everybody has a good day. I'm miserable because of this news. So hope you guys can get over it because I'm going to have trouble getting over this shit. So anything to add to that, Matt, before we go?
No, it died in 2005, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. So, I need to go to another studio. He doesn't have the outro in the fucking main studio. Martin doesn't have the outro in the main studio. It's not in here. I got to go into another studio, so the background's going to change.
That makes all the sense.
Just end the show. I want to talk to you about the gorge for 2 minutes.
I gotta fucking get to where he's got the outro. Oh, it's not letting me switch studios now. So
Just
I'm
say
just gonna
goodbye and click on end stream.
You're lengthening this more because that's what I was going to do. So, anything else to?
I can
say
try
to
and switch
them?
studios if you want me to.
Yeah, if you can fucking do it, do it. Yes.
Where do you want me to go?
TGIF doesn't matter. Somewhere that has the fucking outro. That'd be great. There we go. Fuck. Jesus Christ. All right.